Every scar you carry is a dormant ignition switch. Tonight, we learn how to flip it. I remember the exact pulse when my entire life went dark. Not dim, not flickering, dark. The phone had buzzed once, then twice, then kept buzzing until the glass felt hot against my ear. 3 words slid across the display like a guillotine. We're done. Sorry. Sorry. As if that syllable could cauterize a decade. Then the second blow. The bank app opened to a minus sign so long it needed 2 commas. Everything we built, torched in one afternoon of blind trust and forged signatures. I sat on the edge of the mattress, knees bouncing like faulty shock absorbers. Heartbeat so loud I could hear it in my teeth. This was the moment everything ends, right? That's what every movie had promised. Rock bottom, fade to black, credits. Yet something microscopic twitched inside the wreckage. A spark the size of a pinprick. I felt it between sobs, a ridiculous contradiction. The worst second of my life and the first heartbeat of what came after. That fork is so thin you could floss with it. Total loss or total fuel. Same material, different reaction. I didn't know it yet, but I just stepped through the 30-minute Phoenix rule. Radical acceptance without resignation. Not this is fine while the house burns. More like this is fire and I am oxygen. My first micro decision took exactly 4 heartbeats. 1, feel the slam. 2, name it bankruptcy. 3, name it betrayal. 4, refuse to be ash. The room still stank of panic, but the air began to change. Like ozone before lightning. I didn't stand up, I rose. Not heroic, just inevitable. My pulse slowed to a war drum. 30 minutes. That's how long the Phoenix rule gives you to flip the switch from ash to apex. I glanced at the clock. 3:22. 29 minutes and 37 seconds left. I exhaled for the first time since the texts. The scar on my left hand, old stove burn from childhood, started to itch. That's when I understood. Every scar remembers heat. The question is whether we let the memory cauterize or catalyze. I chose catalyze. Now the real countdown begins. 29 minutes to turn every loss into lift, and I'm going to show you exactly how. But first, you need to hear what happened at minute 28, because that's when the second betrayal hit. And trust me, it made the first one feel like a paper cut. Minute 28 didn't arrive with screams. It tiptoed in wearing the silence after a slammed door, when the echo of your own breath sounds like a stranger. I remember the exact moment because my watch stopped. Just froze on 28 past, whatever hour it was, and in that frozen second, I felt it. Shame sliding under my ribs like a cold coin pressed to the heart. You know the feeling, that sudden drop in temperature, like someone opened a freezer inside your chest. You know the feeling, but here's what nobody tells you. Shame isn't the enemy. It's raw ore. It just needs fire. And fire, my friend, is rage in disguise. I used to think rage was ugly, a broken bottle swinging in a bar fight. Then I learned rage is honest. It's the body's way of refusing to die quietly. Picture this. My heart rate spiked to 180 beats per minute, every thump shouting, "This isn't over." The trick is, you've got exactly 4 minutes before chemistry turns into panic. 4. Not 5, not 3.5. 4. That's the furnace window. Inside that window, grief shows up wearing fear's coat. They always travel together, like con artists switching disguises at a train station. Grief says, you lost everything. Fear whispers, and you're next. If you try to fight them, they multiply. If you try to outrun them, they ride your shadow. But if you sit down, right there on the oily concrete, and invite them in, they start handing you keys. Here's how I metabolized it. First, shame became the question. What did I ignore? I wrote the answer on my forearm with a broken eyeliner because pens felt too permanent. The letters blurred, and the blur looked like wings. Rage became the vow. Never again. I screamed it into a pillow until the fabric tore, and the stuffing looked like snow. Snow in July. Grief became the inventory. Every photo I burned, not to forget, but to distill. The ashes smelled like cedar. Fear became the countdown. 4 minutes starting now. I set a stopwatch. At minute 1, I felt the crackle. shame igniting. At 2, rage roared, heating the shame until it glowed white. At 3, grief bubbled up, salty like molten glass. And at 3:59, fear hissed, but the furnace door was already sealed. I exhaled, and what came out wasn't smoke, it was momentum. See, emotions aren't baggage, they're fuel rods. You just have to know the half-life. Shame burns hottest for 40 seconds. Rage peaks at 90. Grief simmers longest, and fear is the accelerant you splash on last. Miss the window, and the whole thing explodes outward, scorching everyone nearby. Hit it, and the explosion turns inward, supercharging your core. I stood up lighter. Not metaphorically. My scale actually dropped 3 pounds that night. Turns out water weight isn't just water. It's the weight of unshed tears. And once you cry them, you're no longer carrying yesterday's ocean. But the furnace isn't done. Because once you've distilled shame, rage, grief, and fear into rocket fuel, you still have to decide where to point the nozzle. And right now, at minute 29, the second betrayal walks back into the room, wearing a smile you used to trust. They say forgiveness is the highest form of alchemy. But what if forgiveness is just another word for reloading? 10 minutes in, and the furnace still glows behind me, but now I face something colder. That second betrayal didn't just walk back in. It brought a suitcase full of old name tags. I can smell the Sharpie ink even before the zipper cracks open. You know what I'm talking about. The laminated badges of the reliable one, the screw-up, the almost. They clatter like cheap metals on a coffee table that isn't there anymore. I used to think identity was carved in stone. Granite headstone stuff. But tonight, after the flames, I see it's just wet clay wearing a hard hat. So I pick up the first question, and it's heavier than I remembered. Who were you before the world told you who to be? The words echo back like a canyon, and somewhere inside that canyon, 1,000 phone screens flicker awake. The second question is sharper. A paper-cut question. Why? Who benefits when you stay the same? My social feed scrolls itself, images dissolving into strings of green code until the faces become zeros and ones. I watch my own avatar pixelate and melt down the drain of my attention. Third question, the big one. If no story about you survives past sunrise, what covenant would you carve into the ashes? I feel the oxygen leave the room, like the question just took it hostage. My heartbeat becomes a metronome for something I haven't named yet. And then the silence does the strangest thing. It starts typing. Not me, not my thumbs, but the quiet itself. It types a username I've never seen before. I lean closer because leaning is all I have left. The letters assemble. Ash to apex. No numbers, no underscores, just a promise spelled in fire language. My skin prickles like static before a storm. The moment I read the name aloud, the room folds in on itself. Walls peel away like burning paper, revealing a corridor made entirely of mirrors facing mirrors. Infinity, plus one version of me, each wearing a different mask. I take a step, and every reflection does the opposite. Classic. But the new name floats between us like a treaty written on smoke. It pulses once, twice, third time seals it. I reach out, expecting heat, but it's colder than regret. The sigil brands itself onto the inside of my wrist instead of the outside. Because from now on, the covenant is private, not performative. Behind me, the suitcase snaps shut by itself. Not angry, just done. The name tags inside have vanished, replaced by a single feather made of cooled lava. I pocket it without thinking. Now the corridor tilts upward, becoming a staircase with no railing. Each step erases the one behind, pixel by pixel. I smell the future up there, ozone and campfire. Halfway up, my old phone buzzes in my pocket. Screen lights up with notifications from people who still use my dead name. I almost answer out of habit. Then I remember the covenant. I drop the phone over the edge. The final step appears, and on it lies a quill, forged from the same red gold alloy as the sigil beneath my skin. No inkwell, just the quill. I pick it up. The moment the metal touches my fingers, the staircase vanishes. I'm standing on nothing, but I'm not falling. Turns out the blueprint was never about where to walk. It was about what to sign on the way down. I hover there, quill poised, covenant burning in my veins. The next chapter waits, beneath me like a blank page. But it isn't blank at all. It's already glowing. And whatever I write now, it's going to write me back. I'm still floating, quill blazing between my fingers, when the white infinity beneath me turns suddenly dark. For the first time, I hear it. Tick, 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 counting down from 24 hours. The sound is not mechanical. It's my own pulse, amplified until it shakes the void. This is the crucible, the moment hesitation dies. I glance left and right, and the void splits into two living corridors of light. On the left corridor, time slows. Each second stretches like taffy, and I can see my future self still pacing, still planning, still polishing excuses until they shine like metals. On the right, the corridor roars. Wind howls, sparks fly, and my future self is already sprinting, shoes on fire, hair streaming like a banner. Same 24 hours, two different lifespans. I smell smoke. The contract in my hand has caught flame. The quill is no longer a pen. It's a fuse. I realize, with a jolt that rattles my teeth, that every escape route is made of paper, and paper burns. So I do the unthinkable. I sign the first line, not with ink, but with fire. The moment the scorched signature lands, the gray corridor implodes with a wet pop, like a soap bubble breaking. Gone. No back door, no maybe tomorrow, no if only I had more time. The ticking grows louder, urgent, like a heart about to leap from its cage. I feel the shift in gravity. Now it's pulling me forward instead of down. The blueprint said burn the boats, but it never said how hot the blaze would feel on my own skin. The heat is glorious. Next comes the first irreversible action, not the 1,000 tiny decisions that dance in your head like polite dinner guests. No, this is the chair kicked over, the bridge doused in kerosene, the message sent at 2:07 in the morning that says, I'm in. I watch my hand reach out, no tremble now, and hit send. The instant the signal leaves the device, a sonic boom of relief and terror collides inside my ribcage. Now the city lights outside my window begin to strobe, synced to the countdown. Each flash spells out a word. Move, move, move. I scramble for the list I wrote back in the furnace chapter. 3 actions, no more, no less. The first is easy. Tell one witness. I call my brother. Listen, I say, voice cracking like old vinyl. If I'm not at your door by sunrise tomorrow, come find me, because I will have either flown or burnt. He laughs, but I hear the awe underneath. Second action, remove the safety word. I open my laptop, locate the folder labeled Plan B, and drag it to the trash. The confirmation dialog pops up. Are you sure? And I whisper, I'm past sure. I'm certain. The delete key clicks like a gunshot in a cathedral. Third action, spend the first hour doing the thing that scares me most. For me, that's pressing record. I set up the camera, stare into the lens, and speak the opening line. My name is... And today, I became the person who cannot go back. My voice doesn't shake, it ignites. 11 hours remain. The city sleeps, but I do not. I walk the streets, feeling the pavement pulse beneath my shoes, as if the entire metropolis is breathing with me. Every lamppost feels like a witness, every storefront window a mirror showing not who I was, but who I'm becoming. I reach the river and stand at the edge where the water meets sky. The stopwatch in my pocket vibrates, reminding me I have exactly 23 minutes left in this cycle before the loop resets. I open the watch, and inside the glass, I see not gears, but a miniature version of the burning staircase from Chapter 1, still collapsing, still beautiful. One final irreversible action remains, declare the covenant publicly. I pull out my phone again, open the livestream app, and hesitate. The orange corridor wavers, almost dims. I feel the tug of the gray ghost corridor, trying to knit itself back together. No. I press the red button. My face appears on screen, eyes wild, smile feral. To everyone watching, I say, you are my witness. If I fail, you can roast me alive in the comments. The loop ends with a chime that sounds like a cathedral bell made of molten gold. The countdown vanishes. The stopwatch face turns blank. I feel the platform beneath me tilt, not to drop me, but to catapult me. And just as I brace for launch, a whisper crawls up the back of my neck. Tomorrow, the loop doubles, and the fire gets hotter. The next chapter clicks open with a sound like a vault unlocking. I can't see inside yet, but I smell smoke, fresher, hungrier. Ready for the second 24 hours? Because ready or not, they're already sprinting toward us. That rooftop edge is still humming under my feet when a warm updraft slaps my coat like applause. The city below flickers awake, one street lamp at a time, each flare a tiny nod that says, "We see you," trying. I inhale, and the air tastes of molten possibility. This is the moment the furnace taught me to crave, when yesterday's ember becomes tonight's rocket fuel. I shut my eyes, and the first microwind detonates behind my eyelids. I woke up at 4:59, 1 minute early, heart already sprinting. A second wind follows. 10 push-ups became 20 without negotiation. Then a third. I sent the text that had marinated in fear for 3 years. The words tasted like lightning. By the time I open my eyes, the skyline has doubled its wattage, as if the buildings themselves are keeping score. Synapses fire in rapid succession. Snap, crackle, pop, turning the back of my skull into New Year's Eve. I can almost hear the neurons gossiping. Did you see what she just risked? Pass it on. The chain reaction is subtle at first, a gentle fizz. Then suddenly it rages like champagne shook by a prankster god. Every small victory flings open another window, another corridor, another rooftop in the mind. I whisper the first phrase of the rule, just to taste it. From ash, I rise. The wind catches the syllables and flings them across the district like confetti. Somewhere, a car alarm answers, oddly harmonious. I speak louder, the second clause. By fire, I am rewired. My voice cracks, not from fear, but from the voltage of belief. The third clause arrives, riding a drumbeat in my chest. In motion, I ignite. I stomp once, and the gravel beneath me sparks. Ridiculous, yet the soles of my shoes feel warmer, as if the ground itself co-signs the madness. The final clause, oh, the final clause, hangs above me like a neon sword. I draw the deepest breath my lungs have ever held and shout it into the open sky. To apex I belong. And just like that, something shifts. Not metaphorical, tectonic. The hair on my forearms levitates as though magnetized. A low hum vibrates up through my ribs, the same frequency as the power lines overhead. The skyline fractures into kaleidoscopic afterimages, each outline a possible future snapping into focus. I catch glimpses. Tomorrow's workout already finished, the difficult email already sent, the apology already accepted. Micro-wins are no longer polite knocks, they're battering rams. I decide to double the loop, not tomorrow, now. 30 seconds later, I've completed 2 more push-ups, sent another risky text, and inhaled 1 deliberate breath that scorches doubt to cinders. The victories link elbows, forming a conga line that snakes through my nervous system. I feel my spine straighten, vertebra by vertebra, like skyscrapers erected in real time. The old identity sloughs off in charcoal flakes. Underneath, new skin glows, not flawless, but luminous and alive. Every heartbeat is a drum major, keeping tempo for the parade of proof. I catch my reflection in a darkened window pane and barely recognize the blaze staring back. The rule pulses again, now engraved somewhere deeper than language. It isn't chanted, it's broadcast. Oh, I can't tell if the sound comes from my throat or the entire city, but the phrase loops, gaining harmonics. From ash I rise, by fire I am rewired. In motion I ignite. To apex I belong. Somewhere dogs bark in syncopation. Somewhere else a stranger whistles the exact 4-note cadence. I step to the very lip of the rooftop, toes over nothingness. The drop is 20 stories, yet gravity feels negotiable. Every micro-wind buoys me upward, an invisible hot air balloon stitched from courage and caffeine. I raise my arms again, but this time The coat sleeves ripple like pinions catching thermals. The chain reaction crests, no longer sparks, but solar flares. I feel it in my teeth, in the roots of my hair, in the tiny capillaries behind my knees. The city and I share one circulatory system. Each traffic light is a ventricle, each pedestrian a red blood cell delivering fresh oxygen to the plan. I am the pulse and the body both. And then, just as the crescendo threatens to shatter my sternum, a hush falls. The hum lowers to a single, expectant note. The rooftop is quiet, yet the silence is stuffed to bursting. I realize the loop hasn't ended. It has multiplied. Somewhere inside the vault of the next 24 hours, a second furnace is already roaring. I smell the smoke, fresher, hungrier, curling under the locked door of tomorrow. My reflection in the window nods once, eyes twin novas, and mouths the silent promise. The temperature just doubled, and the blueprint just evolved. I reach for the handle, knuckles already blistering with anticipation. Ready or not, the next vault cracks open, its hinges glowing white, its roar promising that the apex is no longer a destination. It's the starting line. The molten handle cools beneath my grip. No, that's wrong. It isn't cooling. I'm heating past the point of combustion, past the point where metal remembers its shape. The door swings inward, and instead of a room, there's only black, absolute, hungry. I step through, not forward, not backward, just through. And the sound of my own heartbeat becomes the ticking of a cosmic stopwatch. 30 seconds left. That's all. 30 seconds to lock everything we've built into the marrow of who I am. The blueprint, the crucible, the soar, they're not memories anymore. They're muscle memory waiting to be born. The black screen appears in front of me, floating in the void. Not a phone, not a mirror, just a perfect rectangle of obsidian that reflects nothing yet. My hands move without permission, reaching toward it. Speak the vow, the void whispers. But the voice is mine, doubled and tripled until it sounds like every version of myself I've ever burned away. The temperature rises, not metaphorical, not symbolic. I can feel my skin beginning to luminesce from within, bones becoming visible like X-ray art. I inhale, and the air tastes like potential. Like every failure I ever collected has been distilled into rocket fuel. My reflection begins to form on the black screen. Not my face, but my eyes. Just the eyes. Twin furnaces that have learned to burn without consuming. 30 seconds, I whisper to the mirror, and my reflection whispers back the same words, but reversed. Backwards, becoming forwards. This is the ritual. This is where the Phoenix Protocol becomes permanent. Not through repetition, but through irrevocable declaration. The moment where I stop trying to become and simply declare that I already am. The screen begins to brighten from within, not with light, but with memory. Every scar I've collected, every time I rose from ash, every moment I chose momentum over decay, they're all there, refracted into pure propulsion. I place my palm against the screen, and it burns, not with pain, but with recognition. The mirror recognizes me, not as I was, not as I could be, but as I am in this burning instant. The ashes on my skin begin to lift, swirling upward like reverse snowfall. Even my dust wants to fly now. Here is my vow, I say, and my voice doesn't echo, it ignites. Every scar is now my propulsion. Every failure is now my fuel. Every ending is now my beginning. The words don't disappear into the void. They become the void, rewriting the fabric of whatever space this is. The black screen flashes white hot, and suddenly, it's not a screen anymore. It's a mirror. My mirror, reflecting not what I look like, but what I've become. A being of pure momentum, a living perpetual motion machine powered by the exact force that once destroyed me. The joke's on entropy. I learned to burn backwards. 20 seconds left. The heat intensifies until I can't tell where I end, and the transformation begins. My reflection leans forward, pressing its forehead against mine. Not glass, just perfect contact between who I was and who I'm becoming. Welcome, my reflection mouths, and I realize it's not speaking to me, it's speaking through me. I am the welcome. I am the ritual. I am the apex that was never a destination. Only the moment where falling becomes flying, where burning becomes becoming, where ash becomes apex. 10 seconds. The mirror begins to dissolve, but not disappear. It absorbs into me, each fragment a promise, each shard a memory, locked forever into muscle and marrow. The darkness around me ignites into the color of sunrise at the edge of space, that perfect moment where night hasn't ended and day hasn't begun. 5 seconds. I feel the protocol click into place, not in my mind, but in my DNA. Every cell now knows the dance. Fall, burn, rise, accelerate. Isn't doubling anymore. It's becoming irrelevant. Heat is just potential energy waiting for direction. 4, 3, 2, 1. The mirror completes its absorption, and I'm left standing in the space where the void was. But it's not empty anymore. It's full of everything I've become. The screen is gone, the ritual complete, the vow locked into the fiber of my being. Your scars are now propulsion. Welcome to Apex.